Mr. Salim had been driving a school bus for over 20 years. Every morning, he started his route at 6:30 a.m. in a quiet little town. The sun would rise slowly, the roads would stay empty, and the cold air would press against the bus windows. Mr. Salim was an old man with a warm smile, white hair, and kind eyes. He loved his job and cared about every child who stepped into his bus, but one boy caught his attention more than anyone else. Every morning, at the same stop, a boy about 10 years old stood alone. He wore the same faded jacket, the same small backpack, and the same sad expression. His head always looked down, his hands stayed in his pockets, and every morning and without fail, there were tears on his cheeks. He never wiped them away. He never looked at anyone. He just quietly stepped into the bus, walked to the back seat, and sat alone. Mr. Salim noticed the boy from the very first day of the school year. At first, he thought maybe the boy had a bad morning. Maybe he missed his parents. Maybe he was shy. But weeks passed, then months, and nothing changed. The boy never smiled. The tears never stopped. Other kids laughed, talked, played with their friends, and shared jokes on the bus. But this boy, he was silent. Completely silent. Like he lived in a different world. Mr. Salim began to worry. He asked the children, "Do any of you know that boy's name?" But most of them just shook their heads. "I think he's in grade 5, one girl said. "He doesn't talk to anyone," another boy added. Mr. Salim started greeting him every morning. "Good morning, Beta," he would say gently. The boy never answered. He just stepped into the bus like a shadow. One day, Mr. Salim even tried offering him a candy. "Here, take this. It's sweet, just like your smile should be." The boy looked at the candy for a second, then shook his head slowly and walked to the back seat. Something was not right. Mr. Salim felt it in his heart. This boy was not just quiet, he was hurting. One chilly morning, the fog was thick, the sky was gray, and the air felt heavy. Mr. Salim pulled his bus near the usual stop. The boy was already standing there, just like always. But something felt different today. Mr. Salim parked the bus, opened the door, and stepped out. The cold wind touched his face, but he didn't care. He walked slowly toward the boy. The boy didn't move. He kept staring at the ground. Mr. Salim stood in front of him, bent down slightly, and spoke softly. "Son, are you okay? I see you crying every day. It breaks my heart." Still, no reply. Mr. Salim looked into the boy's eyes, but they were filled with pain. Not anger, not fear, just deep, silent pain. He tried again. "Please tell me what's wrong. Maybe I can help." No words, only a single tear falling slowly. Then, Mr. Salim's eyes moved down, and that's when he froze. His body stopped. His heart felt heavy. He couldn't believe what he saw. The boy's shoes were completely torn. There were holes in both shoes. His socks were wet, thin, and full of dirt. His feet were red from the cold, so red that they looked like they were burning. The shoes were too small, the soles were almost gone, and his toes were showing through the front. And it was winter. Mr. Salim couldn't speak. He just stared. The boy quickly pulled his feet back as if he didn't want anyone to see. His face turned away. His hands tightened in his pockets. Mr. Salim took a slow breath. He wanted to say something, but his throat felt dry. "Son, why didn't you tell anyone?" he whispered. Still no answer. The bus engine was running. The children inside were waiting. But for Mr. Salim, time had stopped. He looked at the small boy in front of him, standing in broken shoes, crying quietly, carrying something heavy inside that no child should carry. That day, Mr. Salim drove the bus in silence. He kept checking the mirror, looking at the boy in the back seat. The tears were still there. But now, Mr. Salim knew. This was not just a sad child. This was a silent cry for help. And he promised himself he would find out the truth. He would find out what was really happening in this boy's life. Because sometimes pain doesn't speak with words. Sometimes it speaks through silence, through broken shoes, through morning tears. And Mr. Salim had finally heard it. Mr. Salim couldn't stop thinking about that morning. All day, the picture of the boy's broken shoes stayed in his mind. The holes, the cold red feet, the silence on the boy's face. It was more than just poverty. It was pain, a quiet pain that no one had noticed before. That night, Mr. Salim sat in his small kitchen, stirring a cup of tea. But the tea turned cold. His mind was far away, as with the boy. Who is he, Mr. Salim asked himself. Where does he come from? Why is he crying every morning? He had seen many children in his long career. Some were naughty, some were shy, some were talkative. But this boy was different. He was like a ghost in a world full of noise. The next morning, Mr. Salim looked for the boy more carefully. As usual, the boy stood alone at the stop, and again there were tears, small, fresh, and real. Mr. Salim gave a kind smile, trying not to show the sadness in his own heart. The boy stepped in quietly, not saying a word. His walk was slow, careful, as if every step hurt. That day, Mr. Salim noticed something else. While the other kids talked, laughed, and ate their snacks, the e-ice boy just sat with his bag on his lap. He didn't open it. He didn't eat. His eyes were on the floor the whole ride. Mr. Salim began asking around carefully. He spoke to some teachers at the school. Do you know that boy, the one who sits alone? One teacher replied, yes, his name is Ayan, but he doesn't talk to anyone. He's very quiet, doesn't answer questions, doesn't cause trouble either. Another teacher said, I heard he lives with his grandfather, no parents, but I'm not sure. Mr. Salim thanked them and walked out. The name stayed in his mind. Ayan. That afternoon, when school ended, Mr. Salim watched closely. The children came out in groups. Some were laughing, some shouting. But Ayan walked alone, quietly, head down. He entered the bus. Same seat, same silence. Mr. Salim felt a pull in his heart, a need to know more. He decided, today I will follow him. Just for a little. Just to understand. He waited till all the children got off at their stops. Ayan was the last one. When Ayan got down, Mr. Salim drove the bus a little forward, then parked and watched from a distance. Ayan walked down a narrow path filled with broken bricks and overgrown grass. There were no other houses nearby. Just an old broken building at the end of the road. That's where he entered. The door was missing. A torn curtain hung where a door should be. One of the windows was broken and the roof had holes. Mr. Salim stepped out of the bus, slowly and quietly walked closer. He didn't want to scare the boy. He looked through the window. Inside, he saw Ayan kneeling beside an old man who was lying on a small mattress. The man looked sick, very thin, very tired. Ayan was feeding him with his hands. There were only a few pieces of bread and some water in a cup. No light, no electricity, just shadows. Mr. Salim stepped back, heart heavy. This child is taking care of someone, when someone should be taking care of him. He returned to his bus and sat quietly, for a long time. That night, Mr. Salim couldn't sleep. The image of that small boy in broken shoes feeding an old man in the dark kept coming back. The next morning, something strange happened. When Ayan got off the bus at school, something fell from his bag. A small folded paper. Mr. Salim picked it up. Ayan, you dropped this, he called out. But Ayan had already walked into the building. Mr. Salim looked at the paper. It was a drawing, made with pencil. A picture of a boy and a woman holding hands standing under a bright sun. The drawing was rough, but full of feeling. On the side, in shaky handwriting, were the words, I wish Mama was here. I miss food. I want to sleep with a warm blanket. On the back, another line was written, God, help me, help Dada. I will be brave. Mr. Salim felt a lump in his throat. He had tears in his eyes. This was not just a drawing. It was a cry, a message from a heart that had no other way to speak. He folded the paper gently and placed it in his pocket. He decided not to give it back yet. He wanted to keep it safe. That day, as he drove the bus, Mr. Salim made a silent promise. This boy will not suffer in silence anymore. Not while I'm here. The shoes told a story, But now he was ready to listen to the full truth. The next morning, Mr. Salim woke up before the sun. He sat on the edge of his bed, holding Ayan's drawing in his hand. He looked at the small words. Again, God help me, help Dada. I will be brave. Mr. Salim felt his chest tighten. He had seen poor children before, but Ayan was not just poor. He was alone. He was carrying a world of sadness on his tiny shoulders. That day, Mr. Salim decided to go back to Ayan's house. He couldn't just sit and do nothing. After finishing his bus route, Mr. Salim parked the bus in a quiet street. He waited until the other children were gone. Then, he carefully followed Ayan again, staying far enough so the boy wouldn't notice. Just like before, Ayan walked slowly, with his small feet barely lifting from the ground. He moved like someone much older, tired, quiet, careful. He turned into the same narrow lane filled with broken bricks and dry grass, and then he entered. The same broken building at the end. Mr. Salim waited for a moment, then walked toward the house. The curtain door moved with the wind. The house was dark inside, even though it was still daylight. Mr. Salim stood at the entrance. He softly called, Ayan. There was a silence. Then Ayan stepped out from inside. His eyes were wide, surprised, and a little scared. Don't worry, Beta, Mr. Salim said gently. I'm not here to scold you. I just wanted to see if you're okay. You're just a child, Mr. Salim said softly. Why are you carrying all this alone? Still no reply. Only silence. Mr. Salim gently took out the drawing from his pocket. You dropped this, he said. Ayan looked at it and slowly nodded. His lips trembled, but he didn't cry. I didn't mean to read it, Mr. Salim continued, but I did, and I'm glad I did, because now I know the truth. Ayan looked up for the first time. His eyes met Mr. Salim's, full of pain, but also trust. Mr. Salim took a deep breath. You're not alone anymore. I will help you. Ayan didn't speak, but a tear rolled down his cheek. This time, he didn't hide it. Mr. Salim stood up and looked around the house. There was no stove, no food on the shelf, no lights, no warmth. It was not a home. It was just a place, broken and cold. I'll come tomorrow, Mr. Salim said, with food, with medicine, with light. The old man tried to sit up, but Mr. Salim gently helped him rest again. You don't have to say anything, Mr. Salim said softly. Let me do what I can, please. As he stepped outside, the sky had started to turn orange. The sun was setting, but in Mr. Salim's heart something was rising, a feeling of purpose. He walked back to his bus slowly, thinking about all he had seen, a child living in darkness, a grandfather lying in pain, no money, no power, and yet a little boy still trying to be brave. That night, Mr. Salim visited a small grocery store. He bought bread, rice, lentils, and milk. Then he went to the pharmacy and bought some basic medicine and bandages. The shopkeeper looked at him and asked, Sir, this is a lot. Big family dinner? Mr. Salim smiled softly and said, No, just helping someone who needs a little light. The next morning, Mr. Salim didn't go straight to the bus stop. He made a stop first, at a small market. He carried 2 bags filled with food, rice, lentils, cooking oil, eggs, milk, and some fresh vegetables. In another bag, he packed warm clothes, 2 woolen blankets, and some simple medicines he had bought the night before. He also bought a small second-hand lamp that ran on batteries. It wasn't much, but it was something. A light for the dark house. When his bus route started, he followed his normal path, but his heart was beating faster than usual. He stopped at Ayan's bus stop. The boy was there, standing as always, alone, head down, tears on his cheeks. But this time, when he stepped onto the bus, Mr. Salim gently placed his hand on the boy's shoulder. Today, after school, I'm coming to your house again, Beta, he said softly. Ayan didn't speak, but this time he looked up. His eyes didn't look afraid. They looked curious, a little softer. Mr. Salim gave him a small nod and smiled. At the end of the day, after dropping off the other children, Mr. Salim again followed Ayan, this time not in secret. He carried the 2 bags in his hands and walked behind the boy. Ayan glanced back a few times, unsure, but didn't stop him. When they reached the house, Mr. Salim stepped in without waiting. The curtain door swayed open. The cold wind brushed his face. Inside, it was the same. Dark, quiet, empty. The old man, Dada, lay on the mattress. He looked weaker today. Mr. Salim knelt beside him. "I brought some things," he said gently. "Let me help." He opened the bags and showed them everything. Ayan sat quietly in a corner, watching. Mr. Salim set up the small lamp. He switched. Gumon, and for the first time the room had light. Not bright, but soft, warm, enough to see faces, hands, and smiles. The old man's eyes sparkled. Ayan looked at the light and blinked, as if he hadn't seen something like that in a long time. Mr. Salim handed him a pair of warm socks and new shoes. "Try these, Beta. They will keep your feet warm." Ayan slowly reached for them, touched them gently, then looked at Mr. Salim with wide eyes. There were no words, just pure emotion on his face. Mr. Salim also gave a soft woolen blanket to the old man. "This will keep you warm at night," he said. Then he walked to the small broken stove in the corner. He took out some rice and lentils and began cooking. It was simple, but when the smell of warm food filled the room, the atmosphere changed. The dark house, once filled with silence and cold, now smelled like home. Ayan came closer, sitting beside Mr. Salim. He watched every step. How to wash rice, how to boil lentils, how to stir gently. "You're learning," Mr. Salim smiled. Ayan looked up again, and this time he whispered something. "Thank you." It was the first word Mr. Salim had ever heard from him. Mr. Salim didn't answer right away. His heart felt full. His eyes became wet. "You don't have to thank me, Beta," he said gently. "You've done so much already. Now it's my turn." After dinner, Ayan and his grandfather sat quietly, eating together. Mr. Salim cleaned up and packed the empty pots. He didn't want to leave, but he also didn't want to overwhelm them. As he got up to leave, Ayan stood up too. Will you come again?" the boy asked in a soft voice. Mr. Salim turned and smiled. "Of course, Beta. I'll come every day if you want. You're not alone anymore." That night, when Mr. Salim reached home, he sat on his prayer mat. He didn't ask for anything. He just said, "Thank you, God, for letting me find Ayan." The next day, at the bus stop, something had changed. Ayan stood there, but he wasn't looking down. His shoulders were straighter, his cheeks were clean, and when Mr. Salim opened the door, Ayan looked at him and gave a small, tiny, but real smile. It was the kind of smile that could melt any heart. The other children noticed too. One boy whispered, "He smiled." A girl giggled softly, "He never smiles." Mr. Salim saw it all and nodded to himself. A little food, a little warmth, a little light. That's all it takes to change someone's world, but he also knew this was just the beginning. He still didn't know the full story of Ayan's past. He still didn't know how long the grandfather would survive, and he didn't know if anyone else knew their condition. But one thing was sure, he wasn't just a bus driver anymore. He was now a part of Ayan's life. Protector, a helper, a friend, and whatever came next, he would face it with them, together. Every evening, after finishing his bus route, Mr. Salim visited Ayan's house. He brought food, warm clothes, and sometimes even small sweets for the boy. Ayan slowly began to open up. He still didn't talk much, but he listened, nodded, and sometimes smiled. One evening, Mr. Salim brought an old radio. He placed it on the floor, fixed the antenna, and turned the knob until a soft song started playing. The room filled with quiet music. Ayan sat beside his grandfather, humming slowly. Almost without realizing it, Mr. Salim's eyes filled with tears again. This small, broken house, once filled with silence and sadness, now had light, music, warmth and life, but Mr. Salim still felt something was missing, something he couldn't see yet. He wanted to know more. Where was Ayan's family before? Did anyone know they were here? Did they have no relatives at all? One day, while helping clean the house, Mr. Salim noticed an old wooden cupboard in the corner. It was dusty, locked, and looked untouched for years. "What's this, Ayan?" he asked gently. Ayan looked at it and hesitated. He walked to it slowly and pulled out a tiny key tied to a thread around his neck. "This was Mama's cupboard," Ayan said in a whisper. Mr. Salim watched as Ayan unlocked it. The door creaked open. Inside were a few old clothes, a small perfume bottle, a photo frame, and a wooden drawer at the bottom. Ayan slowly pulled the drawer open. Inside there were papers, old letters, hospital slips, and a small notebook. Mr. Salim picked up the notebook. It had a name written on the front. Shazia Malik, diary. "Your mother's?" Mr. Salim asked softly. Ayan nodded. Mr. Salim opened the first page. The handwriting was neat and gentle. "Dear diary, today I watched Ayan take his first step. His smile is the light of my world." Mr. Salim flipped through the pages. Each one held a memory, a hope, a dream, and pain. One entry made Mr. Salim stop. "We tried for help again, but his father's family still refuses to accept us. They say Ayan is not their blood, but I know he is. I wish they would open their hearts." Mr. Salim looked up at Ayan. "Your father's family, they're alive?" he asked gently. Ayan nodded, eyes down. "They live in the city. Dada used to try writing to them, but they never replied." Mr. Salim's heart pounded. Ayan was not alone in the world, but someone had shut the door on him. He looked through the papers again and found an address. It was written on an envelope, torn, faded, but still clear. Mr. Rafiq Malik House, 117, Garden Colony, Lahore. Mr. Salim folded the paper and placed it carefully in his pocket. That night he sat on his bed, thinking deeply. Ayan's life could change. If his father's family accepted him, he could have a better future. But what if they still rejected him? What if they didn't care? It was a risk. But Mr. Salim knew the boy deserved the truth. The next morning, Mr. Salim took a day off from his bus duty. He asked a friend to drive the bus for him. He packed a small bag and left for Lahore, holding the address tightly in his hand. After a long bus ride and a few directions from strangers, he reached a large gate. It was a big house, clean, shiny, with flowers in the garden, very different from Ayan's broken home. He knocked on the gate. A maid opened it. "I want to speak to Mr. Rafiq Malik," Mr. Salim said politely. The maid hesitated, then led him inside. A few minutes later, a tall man in white clothes came out. His beard was neat, his face serious. "Yes?" he asked. "I came about your grandson," Mr. Salim began. Mr. Rafiq's face changed. His eyes narrowed. "I don't have a grandson. Your son, Faizan, passed away 2 years ago. His wife, Shazia, died a few months later. Their son, Ayan, is alive. He's living with his grandfather." Mr. Salim stood quietly in Mr. Rafiq Malik's drawing room. His hands were cold. His heart was beating fast. Across from him, Rafiq sat in silence. The room was large and beautiful. Expensive furniture, fresh flowers. A big photo of his son Faizan hung on the wall, but there was no warmth in his eyes. No softness in his voice. He finally spoke. "I buried my son with my own hands. He broke my trust. He left this house for a woman I didn't choose." Mr. Salim kept his voice calm. "But he chose love, and now their child is alone. He has no one. I told Faizan," Rafiq continued, "if he walked out, he would never return. That rule stands for his son, too. I can't change the past." Mr. Salim stood up slowly. "Sir, life doesn't always follow our rules. That boy wakes up every morning, cries quietly at the bus stop, and carries his sick grandfather on his tiny shoulders. And you, the richest man I've seen this week, are pretending he doesn't exist. Rafiq looked away, his jaw tight. Why are you doing this? He asked coldly. He's not your blood. Mr. Salim's eyes became wet. Because I saw him, I saw his pain. And once you see a child like that, you can't look away. There was no reply. Mr. Salim placed Ayan's mother's diary on the table. She wrote this even when she was dying. Read it. Maybe you'll find your humanity again. Then he turned and walked out. The heavy door closed behind him, slowly, loudly, like a final answer. Back at the small house, Ayan sat on the floor, folding an old shirt. His grandfather was coughing again, weaker than ever. His eyes stayed closed for most of the day. When Mr. Salim returned that evening, Ayan looked up quickly. Did he say anything? He asked softly. Mr. Salim kneeled down beside him. I tried, Beta. I really did. But sometimes, people shut. Their hearts so tightly not even truth can enter. Ayan nodded. He didn't cry, he just sat there holding his shirt tightly in his small hands. Mr. Salim felt helpless. He had hoped for a miracle, a fresh start, a door to open, but the door had stayed closed. That night Mr. Salim didn't sleep well. He kept thinking about Ayan, about the old man slowly fading, about how unfair life could be. But he also remembered Ayan's bravery. This child didn't need pity, he thought. He needed opportunity, hope, a chance. The next morning, Mr. Salim had a new plan, a new idea at the bus stop. Ayan waited quietly again. But when the bus door opened, Mr. Salim didn't greet him with a sad face. Instead, he smiled. I need your help today, champ, he said. Ayan looked confused. Me? Yes. I'm starting something new, but I can't do it alone. Ayan stepped into the bus, curious. After finishing his route, Mr. Salim took Ayan with him to a community center in the nearby town. It was an old building but had kind people and open rooms. Inside, Mr. Salim spoke with a lady named Madame Nujat, a teacher and social worker. I've been driving this bus for 30 years, he said. But now, I want to do something more. I want to help children like Ayan. He looked at the boy. There are many like him, poor, quiet, forgotten. Madame Nujat listened carefully. Does he go to school regularly? She asked. Not really, Mr. Salim admitted. His mind is always busy with his grandfather's health. But he's smart, strong, and kind. She nodded. We can enroll him here for weekend support. He'll get extra help, warm meals, and we can try for medical support for his dada. Mr. Salim smiled, finally feeling hope. The change begins. Ayan started coming to the center every weekend. He joined drawing classes, storytelling circles, and group lunches. At first, he stayed silent, but slowly his voice began to return. He told the other children about his dada, about cooking rice, about riding a bus every morning with a driver who became his best friend. The children listened. Some even cried. One day, Ayan brought a drawing to Mr. Salim. It showed 3 people, Ayan, his dada, and Mr. Salim, all holding hands, with a house in the background and a small sun in the corner. I made this for you, Ayan whispered. Mr. Salim looked at it and held back tears. You gave me light, Ayan added. Now I want to give it to others. A new family. Over the next weeks, Mr. Salim started a small program, Light for Little Hearts. With help from the community center, he used his time, his bus, and his heart to find children who were lost in the system, alone, silent, and suffering like Ayan once was. And every evening, no matter how tired he was, he visited that small house with the curtained door, because inside it, he had found something more powerful than money or blood. He had found family. The small house, where Ayan lived, had changed. It still had cracks in the walls. The roof still leaked when it rained. But something was different now. There was warm food on the stove. There was light in the corner. And most of all, there was hope in the air. Mr. Salim continued his daily visits. He brought food, medicine, and sometimes storybooks. Ayan smiled more. He talked more. He even helped younger kids at the community center. The sadness in his eyes was still there, but it no longer controlled him. But one day, everything stopped. The last breath. That evening, when Mr. Salim walked into the small house, he saw Ayan sitting still beside his grandfather. The old man's hand was in his. There were tears in Ayan's eyes, but no sound. Mr. Salim understood without asking. Ayan's dada was gone. His last breath had left him only minutes before. Mr. Salim sat beside Ayan and held him tight. No words were needed. The silence said everything. The man who had protected Ayan, raised him, and stayed alive only for him, was no longer there. That night, Ayan didn't cry loudly. He just held his dada's hand until it turned cold. The funeral, Mr. Salim arranged everything. He made the phone calls, found the graveyard, and called the imam. He washed the old man's body with his own hands. Ayan helped too, with quiet strength. Only a few people came to the funeral. Some were neighbors. A few were from the community center. Mr. Salim stood beside Ayan as they offered the final prayers. As the grave was filled, Ayan placed a small photo on top. A photo of him with his dada smiling under a tree. This was his favorite, he whispered. Then he closed his eyes, alone, again. That night the house felt different, quieter, emptier. Mr. Salim didn't go home. He stayed with Ayan. He made tea, told stories, and sat beside the boy till he finally fell asleep. But inside he was thinking, Ayan is alone again. What now? Knock on the door. The next morning something happened that no one expected. There was a knock at the curtain door. Mr. Salim opened it. Standing outside was Mr. Rafiq Malik, the rich grandfather from Lahore. Behind him was a woman, his daughter. Ayan's aunt. Rafiq looked different, tired, sad. He held something in his hand, Shazia's old diary. I read it, he said softly. He looked past Mr. Salim and saw Ayan standing there, quiet and unsure. I was wrong, Rafiq continued. I let pride win, but I don't want to lose my grandson too. Mr. Salim didn't say anything. He stepped aside. Ayan didn't run into Rafiq's arms. He didn't speak. He just looked at the man who had once turned away, now standing in front of him, trying to fix something that felt too broken. Rafiq slowly kneeled down. I can't bring back your parents. I can't erase the pain, but I want to take care of you, if you let me. Ayan looked at Mr. Salim. The old bus driver gave a small nod. It's your choice, Beta. Ayan walked forward. He didn't speak, but he reached out, slowly, and placed his small hand into Rafiq's. Rafiq's eyes filled with tears. I'll take him to school, give him a home, a future, he promised. Mr. Salim smiled. Good, he said. But remember one thing. Love is not given once. It must be given every day. Rafiq nodded. One last ride. Before leaving for Lahore, Ayan had one request. I want one last ride in your bus, he said to Mr. Salim. So, early the next morning, the bus pulled up at the stop like always. Ayan climbed in and sat at the front, next to Mr. Salim. No tears this time, just a long hug before he stepped out at the last stop. I'll come back and visit, Ayan said. Mr. Salim smiled. You better. I'll be waiting. As the bus drove away, Ayan stood by the road, not crying, not sad, just grateful. 6 months later, Mr. Salim stood at the community center, helping another young boy fix his school bag. Suddenly, a familiar voice called out, Chachu! It was Ayan, taller, healthier, smiling wide. He ran and hugged Mr. Salim tight. I got first position in class, he said proudly. Mr. Salim hugged him back. You always were a fighter, Beta. And at that moment, Mr. Salim realized he had lost many passengers in life, but this one, he helped reach home.